We got to get either Bubacek or Klawinski.
Klawinski was that call.
Pretty good.
That call, I was like, oh my God.
And he meant it too.
It was so good.
Willard and Dibs.
Good.
Willard and Dibs. It is the crossover.
It was Klawinski, and he wanted to trade Klay Thompson after he had become a free agent.
That is good stuff.
I love our callers. God love them. God love everybody who loves sports.
Oh,
Most of us have no clue what the hell's going on.
You know, it seems like the game against Oklahoma City was 6 weeks ago.
Which
one last night?
Oh, the fun one? No, not last night.
No, last night.
How long ago does the one that they won in Oklahoma City feel?
Yeah.
That's what I asked him earlier, 5-1.
Jeez. The first in-season tournament game.
I mean.
Yeah, it's a rough go.
It is a rough go. And now, because they're not whole. Oh. Like, to me, no, that's why you don't make a decision right now.
What decision?
Like, if you wanted to do, like my
shuffle the lineup or trade somebody or fire the coach.
Let me ask you this.
He is a lame duck.
Okay. I will say that.
Steve Kerr, 3 o'clock.
Let me ask you this.
Whatever.
Let me ask you this. I don't know if you heard this or not.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you believe Joe Lacob thought this team at the beginning of the year could win a title?
An avenue to it.
Avenue, fine.
An avenue to it, I guess.
Do you believe that at some point he's going to think he's either always going to believe that or he might believe we don't have an avenue? What I'm saying is,
I don't think he's there yet.
No, I don't either.
Yeah,
I don't either.
It's 13 games,
correct,
and injured and all over the place,
correct.
Yeah.
And that's why you don't do anything right now.
There are more chapters in the book.
No doubt,
a lot more chapters.
No doubt.
In this book.
But I like just what I put together is if their front office at any point this year feels like we can't get it done, you got to you got to start right then and there to get better with Steph Curry.
Well,
at that moment, don't you owe it to Steph?
That's what everyone's always
right
said.
Away.
That's what everyone's always
Whatever
said.
that means.
But what you're talking about is your word versus your business.
Yep.
And that's a hell of a decision to make, because your word, as you're saying, and I think this is a really interesting sort of scenario, your word is we owe it to Steph Curry to give him everything he can to maximize the rest of his career.
Yep.
However, to do that, you would probably be sacrificing your financial flexibility, which is what you just acquired in Chris Paul. And that's going to hurt for a long time if you do it. And realistically, can you actually rework it on the fly in a way that would actually make you contend? That's a hell of a thing to try to do.
Yep. It is. It is. Dibs, here's the way I feel. Yeah, good start. Now it's the opposite of that. But I do say, okay, Wiggins and Steph, just weather the storm.
Yeah.
Weather the storm.
Man, I mean, who could have seen Wiggins and a 6 for 14 coming? Right?
I wasn't even going there, but go ahead. Well, you got something about Wiggins you want to get off your chest.
10 points per game.
6 for 14
It's
is
nothing that
wonderful.
I haven't gotten off my chest
right.
already.
Jeez.
And I wanted to do a deep dive on how many times he's gone either 5 for 13 or 6 for 14 or some amalgamation, David, of the two, because that's what you get from Andrew Wiggins. 6 for 14, 6 rebounds. Hey, Andrew, assertive.
6 of 13.
Attaboy.
Just to be clear.
No, be clear.
What do you?
You've never got a 10 points per game, Dibs, through third. You're not even bringing that up. Like, that's what's alarming. He's averaging 10.5 points per game, and he's playing like he's averaging 10.5.
Right.
Like, that's alarming for his standards.
I'm going to borrow from Steiny, and he's never said this about Andrew, but he said it about other players. Oh, he stinks.
Well, then
he does
they got
right
a problem.
now.
Oh, he stinks.
They got a problem then, Mark, if this doesn't change.
Here's the problem.
They got
the problem is,
they got a couple.
The problem is he's not very good, and every other team knows it. So you want to trade for Zach LaVine? Okay, Goo. Tell me what team is going to take on Andrew underwhelming Wiggins and or Jonathan.
It would be Chris Paul, because we're going to blow it up and that money would fall off. So it wouldn't be Wiggins in a sense, because you're right. Nobody's touching that. So it would be Chris Paul.
Not just Chris Paul, though.
Yeah, Mooney. Booty and a
Kuminga?
number one. Yeah, you could be right. I'm willing to do that,
You
Mark.
got to give them something
I'm willing to do that.
Right.
I'm willing to do that if it comes to that.
I feel like we're bringing up Zach LaVine because he's the guy who's available, not because he's the right guy.
But both of them are scores.
Zach LaVine is 2 a.m. at the bar.
Well, the right guy is not
let's
available.
go home.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's not the right guy.
The quote-unquote right guy is not available. So we can talk about who. It would be either AJ Anunoby or Pascal Siakam or Bam Adebayo. Oh, if we can get a big like Bam Adebayo. Yeah, good teams don't want to get rid of good players. Hello, they play to win the game. And the Warriors are not winning the game, and there's no move they can make. And we can all talk about what move do they make. Well, the move they make is have a talk with Jonathan Kuminga. And you know what? It worked for a game.
All right.
And somebody pull Andrew Wiggins aside and say, hey, Andrew, it'd be cool if you, played hard, like for a whole game, let alone a whole week or a whole month or a whole season. But that's the move that you have to make, is get your guys who are good players to play better.
Well, Willard, one of those
I
guys.
think they've been pulled aside 1,000 times.
No doubt.
Like I think the
Well,
Wiggins
make it 1,001.
Yeah, the Wiggins situation's well beyond sitting someone down and saying something to him.
Yeah.
What if I told you I want to supersede Wiggins?
It's a wrap.
Nobody cares I was at the game, but I wanted to stop the game.
Good seats, too.
And go hug Klay Thompson. Like, we need to talk about Klay.
We're going to talk about Klay.
It's a thing.
We're going to
This
talk
man
about
is
Klay.
loved. But Dibs, he looked defeated even coming out the game. Not mad, just like this, like maybe he's having thoughts of, and I'm no psychologist, but you could see it. And 1 of 10 is not, like, that's bigger than anything right now. And who's going to take on that? Hey, maybe you might want to come off the bench. Not a demotion, to just see the game from a different perspective, get you going, and we'll run you back.
Right.
Like, why are we not? Like, I saw it. The whole arena saw it, man. It's a big deal.
It is a demotion. And it's a demotion that he has never shown a willingness to accept. When Kevin Durant was signed and he was asked about KD's presence on the team, the first thing he said was, I'm not giving up my S.
Right.
And by S, I mean shots. Yeah. And so from then on, Klay Thompson, and I love him for that, he is a shooter, and a shooter shoots. But right now, he's a glorified Kyle Korver and JJ Redick. And if you can't get your shots because you have no other threat out there and they're running you off the line, then you are rendered to be, mostly irrelevant.
I think this is a very layered conversation, but I also think, in my opinion, it might be time for us to sort of reboot Klay's attitude thing that we've done because of what he said when Kevin arrived. That's a long time ago. That's a very different player. That's pre-injuries.
Yeah.
So
what have we seen since, though?
Well,
to the contrary?
Okay, here's what we saw. I remember you said 1,000 times, Chris Paul will never come off the bench because his attitude would prevent him from coming off the bench. And he's walked in here and he's come off the bench.
We're talking about Klay, though.
Right, because he's 38. Yep. Chris has got every bit of Klay's attitude, trust me. So I wonder, I'm not saying he should or even would, but I do think that we're clearly at a different point in life, and perspectives change.
Can it be on the table?
So I don't know, and I don't even know if it matters. Like I don't even know if it matters. Like I don't know that would fix anything.
I'm actually with you there.
Yeah, I don't know that it matters, but I do think the idea that Klay 1,000% from an emotional standpoint would reject the concept.
Right.
I don't know that. I don't know that. Draymond did it in the playoffs when he said he wouldn't. Chris has done it. Maybe he would, but I don't even know if it matters.
I think, last night the way he looked, like Bleacher Dave called in today, and he's like, you know what, maybe last night was a realization that he is never good, whatever, and he's okay with coming off the bench. But the problem is he's in a contract year.
Yep.
That's the problem. And if he does the right thing,
Spike Lee,
it's going to cost him probably a lot of money.
Well, you keep playing like this,
you're right.
It's going to cost you a lot of money.
But if I'm Klay, I want, this is where Steve Kerr is likely to give him every chance in the book and then some as a starter. because Kerr's tapped into the money aspect of all this as a former player. Now, I'm not saying he's going to make decisions based on it, but Kerr knows Klay's got to have money on his mind at the worst possible time, unfortunately.
It's so wild, though. I know I've never walked in these shoes, but when someone has made hundreds of millions, do you really bring that with you to the arena every night? Like, my standing could turn what was going to be a $100 million deal into a $60 million deal, and I know that's $40 freaking million. But what does that actually do for Klay's life? It doesn't change it one bit.
David West took less to come here.
I don't know. I've never fully understood that, but I acknowledge I've never walked in those shoes. But yeah.
See, I look at their money, Dibs, as the same thing as competition. Like, they got to the pros because they were vicious competitors.
Exactly.
They thought, I'm better than Goo. I'm better than... And money's exactly the same to them. It's not how much is enough. It would be, that guy's making more than me.
Oh,
exactly.
Wow.
And the other thing I think is a big part of it, you start making $18 million a year after year after year after year after year. I know it's a lot of money, but all of a sudden you go to 8, they get scared. You know what I mean?
Sure. I mean, he's like, we call him old.
I don't know what you mean.
Imagine being called old when you turn 33. 33. He's an incredibly young man.
Well, he's old in the business.
But not in his profession.
In the business,
exactly.
he's old.
Kind of fast.
Exactly. He's got a lot of years left to live.
That's the way it goes. So he's looking at one more contract, and he knows that if he plays well, it's 4 years and it's 125, and if he plays bad, it's 4 and 75, and that's not peanuts, and it's also ego, and I do think that's a big part of it, especially when you get to that 4th year and you have some nobody, some bum on some other team making more money than you and letting you know about it. And we already know that Klay Thompson hears what other people are saying, which is why he put up 4 rings on Devin Booker, a guy who's got no rings. So it's not hard to get Klay's GOAT. His GOAT fence actually is non-existent, apparently.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco. Always live on the free Odyssey app. Twitch and YouTube powered by First NorCal. Credit you.
266 just on the court already.
Oh.
Right. It's not about savings account. It's about ego. It's about what do you make. And right now,
I get it.
And right now, he's what, 10th in the association in terms of single salary. He was last year. He might be down to like 13, 14, but...
Well, his number went up $3 million from last year.
Right, but if you look at where he is right now this year based on what he makes, so he's going to go out and play this year, and he's going to come off the bench for the good of the team, fellas, and then next year he's going to get a deal 3 years for $58 million, and he's going to go out and he's going to see Jordan Poole at Summer League, and Jordan Poole's going to be like, hey, Clay, come here.
Dibs, if you're right,
Clay,
you're worried about the wrong thing. Because you keep talking about Klay.
Do you need to hold a little bit?
Years ago. This is the worst ROI
We're talking about
right
athletes
now.
and
Contract
ego.
in the NBA through 13 games. It's Klay Thompson. This is a nightmare if he continues to play this way. But Dibs, I'm just saying, you're talking about him not being able to come off the bench as if he's at his top in his prime. He's not. There's got to be
ego.
some self-reflection.
These are athletes who all deal with ego.
But the Warriors are trying to win games.
Yes, but until Klay shows me otherwise, I believe that he has an ego that is appropriate to where he is in the association. He's a Hall of Famer. His number will be retired. He's a 4-time champion. He's not ready. And let's look at Steph Curry. When Steph took 4 and 44, he was yet to be a 2-time MVP. He was yet to be a champion. And Steph Curry is the most unique athlete we've ever seen in pro sports.
Well, and he also had injury issues.
He was hurt.
People were like, what are they doing?
Terrified of his ankle.
But also, Steph Curry was not out there trying to beat the drum for every last dollar. He saw all what you're talking about, and he said, you know what? I believe in myself. I'll take 4 and 44. Boom, done. And he bet on himself, and he won. And here's Klay, off of 2 injuries, and he's a 4-time champ. Does he want to come off the bench and play 21 minutes and maybe eke out a vet min contract in the open market? I don't buy it.
Well,
Lou Williams? I think Lou Williams at his best made about 13 or 15. He considered one of the best guys off the bench.
Yeah,
I was just 15.
Jordan Crawford,
Lou Williams,
Jamal Crawford. Sorry,
yeah.
You want Lou Williams top individual single season number?
13.
Less. Well, less.
boy.
Lou Williams,
9.
8.
Oh, boy.
It's the most he's ever made in 1 year. $8 million.
Wow.
Yep.
Price is right.
And he had a bunch of people to take care of.
Yeah.
Still does, I'm sure.
You know, I do want to say this out loud about Klay. It's not been a good year, but last night obviously was the worst example of it. And I do think that we need to acknowledge that it happened when Steph Curry wasn't playing.
Everything happens when he doesn't.
Right. But my point is Steve Kerr even made a comment last night about the defense going into last night's game knowing that they were just going to run at Klay. Like if you're facing this Warrior squad with no Steph right now, with the way Wiggins is shooting, there's only one guy you're worried about being like, oh, he could go for 30. So,
but you're not excusing him.
It's not an excuse. But the realization, rather than being like Klay's washed,
like after the Lakers series, I defended him. There was a lot of when Curry played, but Klay was god,
no doubt. And so there's a huge conversation to have there, and we will. But last night, you're sort of asking him to be a 1. He's definitely not that. But the Warriors, if everything fell into place, which is a massive if, but if everything fell into place, you're not asking Klay to be a 1. So he was playing against double teams and everybody, and he can't create his own shot. That's not who he is.
And you could tell he's forcing it. Dibs, one was an air with hit the side of the glass.
Yeah,
and I've been there. Like you're shooting the shoot. You know what I mean? Like just something's on your mind, man. I hope he works through it.
Well,
man.
Shoot your shot. It's all you got. And you're welcome, Mark. Unfortunately for Klay, that is all he's got because he's not the defender he once was. And honestly, if he's your 2, then he'd better be closer to Claymaker. And has he had a Claymaker game this year?
No.
When was the last Claymaker game he had? You'd have to
get one of the postseason
last year against Sacramento, I think.
What stats would count? What counts for a Claymaker?
A Claymaker game is when you hit probably 5 threes. When you're
26 or more, 28 or more.
He went
6 or 7
He
threes.
went 4 for 6 from 3 in that game at OKC.
Okay.
And scored 18.
That's not a Claymaker.
No, but he went 4 for 6.
Yeah.
He went 4 for 6.
Sure.
We're talking about 8 for 13.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm talking about 27 plus and 5 or more. I mean, even 6 or more threes.
You know what we mean, Willard.
All right, I got it. I got it for you. It was May 4th. May the 4th be with you.
Against Sacramento.
No, it was in the Lakers series. Game 2, the Warriors win by 27. Klay goes 8 of 11 from 3.
Wow. That was it.
And scores 30.
I don't even need to see any other number. 8-11 for 3 is a Claymaker.
And he never made another shot ever again in that series.
I got something.
And last night they had, I'm sorry, Guru, last night they had no answer for Connor Joe, former Giant.
Yeah, no, that's a 4.
I was waiting all day
starting
for
left
that.
fielders this year, my prediction.
So this is just me. I hate bullies, and I love Phil Jackson because I felt like in his own way, he would check Kobe, Shaq, Jordan, Pippen, whoever it was, Rodman. And that's why I came in last Monday after the Niner game. I really appreciated Kyle, guys, talking about the one play, the touchdown to Ayuk, about how he told, like, I'm not going to forget that one. You know, it's going to stay with me a little while. Can you tell me what happened with Steve Kerr, who I love right now, and I'm not railing on Dre, because it seemed like 24 hours after the Dre chokehold, it was Dre being Dre. But when I got to that stadium and Evan showed me the sound of Kerr saying, Dre can't do that, like,
when did he say Dre being
before
Dre?
the game, I felt like after Rudy had his hands on Klay and Dre was going to defend his teammate.
But that was from Steve?
Yeah, right after the game. But what we heard yesterday was this kid Dre was in the wrong. He held, like, that's all I want is, that's how you do it. But I told Steiny, what took so long for Kerr to say that? Because I felt like they were singing another song right after, like, no, our guy was, he was justified.
Maybe they watched video. Like, I don't know.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But if you look at Steve's face during that event, to me,
he was telling them, let go.
It was like he could tell. We were joking about it yesterday. Every second you hold on is another game. So he's yelling at him like, dude, whoa, whoa, whoa.
No, he was yelling, choke.
Choke.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
that was different.
Look,
I appreciate it.
It definitely is a question that I have got jotted down for Steve today at 5 o'clock, which is this, because he said Dre's got to find a way basically to dial it back. And one of my questions is, how do you go about doing that? We've known this person for over a decade, and I have certainly come to the opinion of, and I've said it many times on the air, right? You get all of the, you get the whole package, and there is no way. There's no way for him to be this underdog performer and then also dial it back. Like, it's not two different human beings. It's all one human being. So how do you peel the layers apart and just pull one of them out? And that's what I feel like Steve was asking him to do yesterday. And that's a hell of a lot easier to say than to do. So I'd like to, how? How do you do that?
Well, I don't know how you do it, and maybe they know they can't do it. But here's what I think is, for the years they've been, because that did stand out to me, inexcusable.
Sure.
Terrible visual for the league.
That's a little excessive.
So, I think they've been, if you want to use enabling, whatever, they've supported Draymond. And everybody said, the whole organization, Curry loves him. And what that told me last night is he does not have the unanimous support of the entire organization. He doesn't.
Not to do stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But even Steve is often like, we like him playing for an edge. We like him playing with an edge.
Yeah.
We know he's going to go over sometimes. We got to live with that. Always four-time champion. It did seem more like
there was a line.
Tougher on Draymond, and that's got to be they're getting a little bit more annoyed.
Or somebody from the league called Steve and said,
maybe.
Listen, we're over here sending out press releases saying that this is a buildup.
True.
And then you're following up by going to a microphone and telling everybody that, well, but Rudy, did you see what Rudy did? I think the league, if the league is going to say we've had enough, you guys have got to have our back.
But there's two problems here.
What's that?
If the league is, in fact, going to start cracking down on Draymond, it feels like they're just going to do more and more and more. Well, then that's a basketball issue for the Warriors.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Then, okay, I'll acknowledge, even if it's not true, the league's out to get this guy. They're gonna mess with this guy. I know it's not true, but if that is, well, then we got to get rid of him because we can't win if they are really going after this guy because we know he's going to happen again, and there's going to be 7. And then,
well, if you really want to get into, and I don't want to call it a conspiracy theory, but if you really want to get ahead of ourselves with the whole trades and contractual stuff, then you could argue that what Steve said in front of a microphone last night is step 1.
Oh, there's no man.
To the Warriors 15th. Disavowing the behavior,
no doubt about
which
it.
sets the table. If then when he will not comply, it sets the table for a departure.
They're trying to reset a little bit, reset the boundaries.
Maybe.
All right, guys, this has been fascinating. Steve Kirk.
Well,
I got you a couple times.
Thank you. I appreciate
that.
Yeah.
Dibs texting me about teasing Kerr.
Just promote it. Yeah. They were talking about Kerr and
I like the way you did it. Steve Kerr 3.
That's it, boy. I'll slow.
Night. All right, you guys have a great show. Go Warriors.